It's Tour Teusday. The day we don't tour homes because we can't because of COVID-19. But we're here anyway, and we're here with Jeremy from Turfbot.
But first of all, we've got Julie Martin, who's here with us as part of our team and across us. And we're just trying to provide you valuable information during COVID.
That's right.
So, Jeremy.
Hi.
Starting off with you. Jeremy, talk about your company here. And he's going to start off by talking about basically how you can get ready in a COVID situation.
Okay, so I'm Jeremy, and I own a lawn care company in Belleville and a little bit of a landscaping company, and it's called Turfbots. And what we do is we kind of customize fertility programs and weed control programs towards lawns. And I spent 25 years out on the golf course, still do, and it's literally all I've ever done. So I moved into the residential world after we had a small family, and I wanted to spend some more time at home. So here I am, and we look after, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 lawns in Belleville, and it's starting up and it's going well.
And you do a custom thing, because you came and you looked at our lawn before COVID started up late last fall to start this spring, and you look at basically the different ecosystems that are in the yard and then customize fertilizer and seed for each section, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I every hole on the golf course is different. I mean, you might have one hole that's in the full shade. You might have one hole that's full sun. You might have one hole that gets more traffic. It's sort of the same thing. So for me to say, okay, we're just going to put this product on every lawn, well, that doesn't necessarily work out very well. So, I mean, I could go to a lawn that's, perfectly full of 100% bluegrass and go to another lawn and it's, 70% crabgrass because it's been, maybe a little bit less maintained over the years, doesn't have an irrigation system. So every lawn is different and every lawn gets treated differently and every lawn gets a different product. So a different number of products anyways. We try and put together something that will, your lawn's different than your neighbor's, Tom, or two streets over where the guy works 12 hours a day on it. Yeah. Or it seems like that, and you have enough time to work 1 hour a week. So we try and fit something in that, gets you caught up to that guy.
He's being so generous by saying we work on it for 1 hour a week.
Thank you for that.
It's kind of geared towards that. I'm not saying you only work 1 hour a week, but we do the best job we can do to get you up to speed with a good lawn, and definitely the only time they could possibly be the same is if you were going into a new subdivision and they were both recently sodded at the same time. If we could handle both of those yards the same, but if they're 20 years old, then they're going to be entirely different thatch layers when they were aerated, whether they've been top dressed, fertilized consistently, watered consistently, things like that. So that's where that's where it's a little bit different, and I would say a little bit more custom.
Right.
And I also really like to know the customers. I'd like to know what your wants are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and actually what's really neat is you go over a whole plan with us. So you find out what we want and stuff, and then you actually bring it into reality for our lawns. When is the best time right now for watering lawns or grass cutting? I know we're coming into our spring, so we have to start getting ready for that.
Yeah, if you look at something like water, and I always go back to the golf course because that's what I did, and we use what's called, we have very fancy water moisture meters. It's they're $2,000, $2,500 pieces of equipment. So what happens when you're watering is ultimately with that piece of equipment, you're looking for a moisture level. Now, when you go over 40% moisture percentage in that soil moisture content, you start losing things like oxygen. And when we talk about oxygen in soil, that's when we talk about aeration. So we're trying to provide that. So when you're putting water down, you want to grab a moisture meter, and you can buy one at, most department stores. If you go into the garden section, they won't be as fancy as a golf course, but you want to pick that spot. And I would say, if it's a moisture meter of say 1 to 10, you're picking a spot at around 6. Stick that moisture meter in the ground. When it starts to get into sort of a trouble spot in that range of say 4 to 6, that's when you're going to start watering and get it back up to a number that is decent. Most of them have a guide, and they'll say like a number like 7 is sufficient. You're going to want to start watering your lawn when it gets down to 4. You don't want to water your lawn too early because when you're building a root system in the spring, that root system overwatered is going to become unhealthy, and that's where you're going to start seeing your stress factors in July and August and September. If you overwater now, you want to really focus on your root system, particularly now. That's the time. if we were going to fertilize your lawn today, you would hardly know I was there because I'm actually focusing on the root system.
Yeah. So what's a good time to start planting flowers, would you say?
It depends on the flowers. I mean, obviously, if you want to add some color, there's a lot of frost hardy tolerant annuals that add some colors. I mean, we know about all the varieties of viola, like pansies, obviously all your bulbs, tulips, daffodils are out right now. You can pick those up at a lot of the local nurseries. I see that they're opening, and I'm sure that they're, really appreciative if people are stopping in and doing a pickup. I know a lot of them are offering curbside pickup as we get through this. So I know even on Turfbots, I advertised one yesterday for, just because I use these people myself. So for me to go and to pick you guys up something, I've got to go to those spots. So I want to make sure they get some support. I understand that they're not, maybe essential, but mental health is essential too. So, adding some tulips to your front entrance maybe gets you through your day. So it's a perfect time for those. Typically, if you want to start seeding indoors and you want to, try a little growing, you can do that now. You can start growing a certain plants inside now and get them ready for after. The typical rule of thumb is that May long weekend, but you can do the work yourself. You can watch for frost nights, and those are the things that are going to hurt your plants. So if you see a night of like -3, -4, yeah, geraniums aren't going to like that.
Yeah. So COVID-19, you wanted to come on and you wanted to say you can't go out and do lawns and stuff right now, right? Because
no, I phoned yesterday to the non-essential line because we are starting to get some some questions as to when we're coming, and we do fall into sort of that property maintenance, but at the same time, I'm in the community. I want to do my part too, and people think, well, you can distance yourself and things like that. I still touch gates. I still go and I'm around people when they're home right now, and a few of the things that we do. I mean, I don't love to see a dog walk on a property, for at least an hour or two after we spray. We need a drying time. So it's a little bit more difficult than people may think. So I did write up how to get your lawn through a pandemic on my own Facebook page. And it's kind of similar to like if we were getting a golf course ready, which I actually still do. I kind of wrote it similarly to what they would be doing right now with less staff and how we would be getting through this. And it's kind of a 10-step thing. It's not what we would typically do, but we're in different times. So it's something, there's a few little tricks that I would do, not to say tricks, but when I think about a lawn, I think about how it's going to look in July and August. So how it's going to look in July and August is what you're doing right now. So I wrote it kind of, let's make sure that it's going to be healthy going into those times. We're going to see a few more weeds. We might see some more crabgrass. If you have 15, 20 minutes a day, it's a really good soothing thing to go out and get rid of that stuff.
a lot of people might have that right now being at
They
home.
actually do.
We will share the links below as well for you for his site, so you can go on and see what those 10 steps are and any advice in that he can share. So is there anything else you want to add, Jeremy?
No, I would say don't stress. I mean, I think in a couple of weeks, everything that we relate things to is soil temperature. And one of the things that I posted in the video last week was, typically bluegrass, which is what we really want in our yards. It's a good 4-season grass. Dandelions, the soil temperature needs to be around 7 degrees, whereas bluegrass is 11. So one of those things that we would do is we would try and jumpstart your grass to keep up with those dandelions. We're not going to be able to do that this year, and most people aren't. So don't stress that you're going to see some dandelion growth in the next couple of weeks. I know it can be stressful. There's some advantages to leaving dandelions out anyways, but grab that
They're
bees.
pretty. I think they're very pretty and colorful.
Yes.
When you come to our yard and you're allowed to, eventually you're going to see dandelions.
That's okay. I mean, we understand pollination, and I do. Pollination is basically what you're doing for those bees, and Julie, and one of the things we like to do is if we remove dandelions either manually or start putting the fertility in the ground that starts, choking those out with your lawns, we try and replace that pollination or those pollinator options for those bees with another plant. We typically use lavender, but Google away and you'll find far superior plants to dandelions that those pollinators will love. And we do that.
Oh, perfect. That's important to our family. We're a family of beekeepers, so we got to keep our eye out for the bees. Take care of the bees.
I'll tell you, yeah, golf course superintendents are very, very cautious as to what they do to their bee populations. And you might be surprised to know that, but it's a very serious issue for us. We don't use as much chemical as people may think, and we really look after the pollination population.
That's amazing.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you, Jeremy. We so appreciate you being on with us.
I really appreciate coming on. I think that's great, and anytime.
Awesome. Well,
I
stay
can stay
safe.
here. I can stay here through the rest of it if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no problem.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we do have a little bit of news for the rest of Tour Tuesday.
Yep.
Interestingly, it really changed over the last week. So we actually saw still a pretty good market in March, and we saw a lot of homes coming on, still a lot of sales. All those people that had, either purchased a home or had to move, had to get their home sold. So we saw a lot of activity, even into the first 2 weeks of April.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the last week, everybody has really been doing their part. We have really only been dealing with essentials, people who have had to buy and sell, and shelter is one of the top 3 things that you need in life.
Mhm.
So it's been amazing because if you look at our board stats, we are down probably about 80% as to where we normally are this time of year. So that 20% are those essentials that need to move. So you know what, kudos to our community for really doing their part in slowing that.
Yeah, thank you for thinking twice
Yes.
about whether or not you have to list or you have to move at this point in time.
Yes.
Because if you can wait until this is over, it keeps everybody safe. That means less people need to come through your home, your family's safer, they're safer, right? And when all this is over, we'll be able to start moving around again.
And the number one question that we're getting right now is, when do we think this is going to be over? Well, while we're in a state of emergency, we are under the guidelines of being essential. So right now, that's the middle of May. So if you're thinking of actually getting your home ready for market, there are about 40% of you out there doing home renovations.
Exactly.
So
Nothing else to do.
kudos to Lowe's and Rona and Home Depot and everything else that you can do curbside pickup. So I think I read this thing on Facebook, and I'm going to say this as a really important statement. Don't give a hard time to those people that are going around and picking supplies up from Home Depot or Lowe's. We're doing curbside pickup. We're being as safe as possible. But Jeremy, you said it earlier, mental health is really important.
Yeah.
This may be something that makes somebody with depression get out of their depression because they can paint their house. It may get somebody outside into their yard and, fix a deck. These are just as important as keeping people's physical health. Mental health is extremely important. And I read that and I thought, you know what? Let's have lots of patience. Let's have lots of empathy.
Yep.
And towards each other, and not just jump to a conclusion like, oh, I can't believe they're outside and picking something up. That may be what they need to stay mental healthy. Mentally healthy, mental health.
And same at the grocery stores.
Yes.
If you see somebody like me who has this really super full shopping cart, right, and it looks like
Not hoarding.
like they're hoarding because they're there, what's happening is they might be purchasing for 4 families or 5 families, because that's what I do. I'm purchasing for 4 families and then delivering for them so that the elderly don't have to come to the store and get sick. And I see a few other people doing that at the same time. They're going around and it's clear they're checking different lists as they're doing it. But it looks really strange because they have these overwhelmingly full carts, and you get these odd looks, right? Just they're probably helping someone out. That's all.
So stay healthy, stay safe. If you need us, you know how to get us. We have the time to chat and keep you informed.
Exactly.
So, Jeremy, you want to do it with us?
Tuesday.
Hey!